Civil disobedience, disregarding the law because it's immoral. Civil disobedience is a hard topic to understand as it isn't a fact or a law-based occurrence. Rather, it's based on one's own moral opinions on law and how far they would bend the law. To get a full understanding of civil disobedience, let's head back in time to the Civil War era. This was not a bright time for America. Congress was in tension about whether slave or abolitionist states had control over Congress, and indirectly, the country's legislation, to a limit. A piece of legislation was passed, and would later be supported indirectly by the Supreme Court in Dred Scott's lawsuit, called the Fugitive Slave Act. This act was passed by the federal Congress and thus affected both the North and South states, the slave and abolitionists. Slave owners, primarily from the slave states, were given the right to track down and capture their escaped slaves, or hire someone to do it for them. However, in the abolitionist states, citizens would take in and hide former slaves. Then, when confronted about it, they would lie. This is civil disobedience. Is civil disobedience legal? No. It says it right there in the term. However, would people be tried for the crimes they committed? No. In the case of the Fugitive Slave Act, they were civilly disobeying the law. But there were too many for them to track down and all be tried and all be punished. It's difficult to do this. When they saw something as morally incorrect, this would be one of their ways to protest. And this is interesting because protest is protected in the Constitution, but to what degree? I mean, technically you aren't breaking the law to march to the Supreme Court to make a point if you do so peacefully. Congress shall not make a law taking this away. However, is breaking or bending a law to have something changed considered peaceful protest? Food for thought. To be honest, I have no answer to this question, but let's move forward to a more dreadful act of civil disobedience. John Brown was a revolutionist who wanted to free the slaves in the South, and he had a song written about him that tells his story. John Brown's body lies a-mouldering in the ground. But I'm gonna tell you it, so you don't have to interpret a song. John Brown sees the Caribbean slaves gain their freedom. Cool, he says, I wonder if we could. Well, he's gone. He meticulously plotted every detail of his plan until he was ready to execute. Then, a blackmailer threatened to leak his plans, and he cowered for a year, rethinking his ideas. He planned to take over a federal armory with 19 men, and then take the weapons. He then planned to distribute them to slaves who could lead their own revolution. Keep in mind that robbing a federal building is a punishable felony. Who would have thought? Long story short, old John Brown successfully took control of the armory, but when he attempted to redistribute the weapons, he had no takers. Then, the next day, he was taken into custody, tried for treason soon after, and was hung on December 2nd of 1859. And the North praised him as a martyr, ringing church bells and flying flags at half-staff. The South smelled this and yelled at the Northern reps in Congress. And the tensions increased. Anyways, John Brown's trial was a controversial point, showing us that the law is not to be messed with at that high of a standard, and that civil disobedience is not legal or an exemplary reason to be acquitted at trial. Unless you get lucky and the president pardons you. Basically, don't be an idiot, because civil disobedience is illegal, and though it may be moral, John Brown shows us that it is no way to cover up a crime. Thanks so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed, please click like and subscribe, because it would be the good thing to do for you guys. If you don't click subscribe, I mean, that's fine, but then you don't get more content like this if I upload it. And I honestly had a great time writing this script. It's really interesting learning about what civil disobedience is and kind of where it affects stuff. And this is a lot of my ideas, but you know, I think that it'd be great if you guys would leave a comment telling me what you think about civil disobedience and kind of one of these things that naturally happens in especially the American government, but lots of government, I'm sure. But yeah. Basically, lesson is don't be an idiot, and civil disobedience is not a reason for you to be acquitted in a trial. Follow me on Twitch, that is at twitch.tv/itguy123. Totally check that out, guys. I do streams a lot, and it's really fun, guys, so totally check that one out, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.